Found out I had a brother, and suddenly became a father of two. My name is Michael Blake. I'm 34 years old, and I live a normal, honest, and honestly boring life. I'm an accountant in London. I work for a company that provides tax consulting for mid-sized businesses. Yeah, it sounds boring, and trust me, it really is. Prejudice looks the same: coffee office, numbers, reports, more coffee, and then back home. I have a dog, a Labrador named Charlie. He's probably the only one who's actually happy when I get home. I don't have a family. I had a couple of relationships, but they all ended the same way. I was too stuck in my routine, too afraid of change. Ria Lazo, last girlfriend Emma, left me 2 years ago. She wanted kids and a house in the suburbs, and I told her I was happy as I was. Back then, I really thought I was right. My father left when I was 5. I barely remember him packing a big suitcase, telling my mom, "It's just for a little while." He never came back. For a while, I waited for him every Sunday by the window. Then, I just stopped. My mom rarely spoke about him. She always said the same thing: he chose a different life. When I was a teenager, I learned he had moved to Manchester and started a new family there. But I never knew if I had brothers or sisters. And honestly, I didn't want to know. To me, my father was just a shadow. A man who one day simply turned off the light and walked away. Ordinary Tuesday. I came home and checked my mailbox. Inside was a white envelope with an official seal, a law firm from Manchester. Inside, there was a letter. "Mr. Blake, please contact us regarding an inheritance matter concerning your brother Alex Blake." I read it 3 times. A brother? What brother? My entire world flipped upside down. First thing I did was call my mom. "Mom, what does this mean? I have a brother? I got a letter from Manchester." Long silence. "Michael, I wanted to tell you earlier, but your father did have another family. He had a son, Alex. They didn't keep in touch with me. I didn't want you growing up with that pain. What about Dad? Is he alive?" "No. He passed away 6 years ago. I read about it in the paper." I sat down and closed my eyes. 30 years. I lived not knowing I had a brother. And my father died, and I didn't even go to his funeral. That night, I couldn't sleep. Charlie scratched the floor softly, and I just stared at the ceiling thinking, maybe it's a mistake? Maybe this letter isn't even meant for me? But something deep inside whispered, no, this is important. In the morning, I bought a ticket to Manchester, just going there for paperwork. I didn't know then that this trip would change my life completely. The morning in London was cold and gray. I stood on the platform looking at the board. Manchester Piccadilly, train in 10 minutes. In my hands, a small travel bag and the envelope from the law firm. Everything felt unreal. My mind kept spinning. What if this is a mistake? What if I really did have a brother, and I never even tried to find him? I left Charlie with my neighbor. She asked, "Everything okay, Michael?" I just shrugged. "Yeah, I guess." The truth was, no. I felt like a man who had just woken up and realized his life wasn't what he thought it was. On the train, I barely looked at my phone. All I could think about was my father. Why did he leave? Why didn't he take me? Why choose another life? And what happened to Alex? Did he grow up hating me for never looking for him? The law office. The law firm was in an old red brick building. On the door, a brass sign read, "Henderson and Partners." Inside, it smelled of coffee and polished wood. A young receptionist looked up. "Mr. Blake, Mr. Henderson is expecting you." Henderson was in his 60s, with silver hair and a neat walking cane. He stood up to greet me. "Michael Blake? Glad you could come. Please have a seat." He opened a folder. "Your half-brother, Alex Blake, died in a car accident last week. We're handling his estate." I froze. I didn't even know I had a brother. "That's understandable. Your father, Richard Blake, left your family and built a new life here in Manchester. We also worked with him. He passed away 6 years ago. Alex lived here his whole life. He was a mechanic, owned a small garage. Good guy, reliable from what I hear." Inside, something twisted painfully. So he lived. He was a good man, and I never even knew him. The letter Henderson handed me an envelope. This is a letter from Alex. He wrote it a year ago, in case something happened. I opened it. Michael, if you're reading this, I'm gone. We were never close. That's on me and on our father. But you are my family. I have no one else I can trust with what matters most. Take care of them. Alex. I looked up. Who does he mean? Who are they? Henderson hesitated. The children. Alex had twins, 6 years old. Their mother died of cancer a year ago. He raised them alone. I just froze. Children? Yes, and in his will, he names you as their guardian. I walked outside and just sat on a bench. People rushed by, living their lives, and I just sat there trying to understand. I had a brother. He's gone, and he left 2 kids, and he trusted me, a man he'd never met. Why? Because we share blood? Because he knew there was no one else? I shook my head. I don't know what to do. I can barely handle my own life. And now I'm supposed to take 2 orphaned kids? Just because he decided so? The next day, I went to the address Henderson had given me. It was a small house in a quiet Manchester neighborhood. A tall woman in her 40s, with short red hair, opened the door and offered her hand. Sarah, social worker. You must be Michael? Yeah, that's me. They're in the living room. Are you ready? I nodded, even though inside everything screamed, no. In the living room sat 2 kids, a boy and a girl, maybe 6 years old. They were huddled together on the couch, as if afraid someone might separate them. The girl clutched a stuffed rabbit. The boy had his face buried in his knees. Sarah said softly, Kids, this is Michael. He's your uncle. The girl lifted her eyes. Are you going to take us home? I froze. Home? What home? I don't know yet. I came here just to meet you. The boy whispered, Is Dad coming back? Sarah pressed her lips together. We talked about this. And then the girl hugged her rabbit tighter and said, He told us, if something happens, Michael will come. I felt my throat tighten. I didn't know these kids, and yet they looked at me like I was the only one who could save them. And that scared me more than anything else. That evening, I rented a hotel room. I sat on the bed, head in my hands, thinking, 2 kids, 6 years old. I'm 34. I live alone. I can barely keep up with walking my dog. And now I'm supposed to raise kids? What if I mess up their lives? Maybe they'd be better off in the system with a foster family. I called my mom. Mom, what am I supposed to do? Do you hear yourself, Michael? They're your family. They have no one else. I'm scared, Mom. I don't know how to be a dad. You don't have to be perfect. You just have to be there and not walk away. But I was still doubting. So I did something I hadn't done in 2 years. I called Emma, my ex. Emma, hey. Silence. Michael? You only call when something's wrong. What's going on? It's complicated. I had a brother. He died, and he had 2 kids. And now, they're supposed to live with me. You're joking, right? No, I don't know what to do. On the other end, silence, then a quiet sigh. Do you really think you can do this? I don't know, but someone has to. The next morning, I went back to see the kids. The girl still held the same stuffed rabbit. The boy stood beside her. Would you like to come with me? To London? I have a house there and a dog. The girl nodded immediately. The boy hesitated, then took my hand. In that moment, I knew the decision had already been made. I didn't know if I could ever be their father, but I knew one thing. I couldn't abandon them. Double asterisk. The paperwork took 3 whole days. Sarah from Social Services explained every little detail. Temporary guardianship, monthly reports, living condition inspections. I just nodded, thinking, God, what am I doing? Finally, when the last document was signed, she brought the kids over to me. All right, ready to go. The girl nodded and held my hand tight. The boy hid behind her. I bought them train tickets and picked up 2 small bags. Everything they owned. On the train, they sat quietly, barely talking. The girl stroked her stuffed rabbit. The boy stared out the window. "Do you have a room?" he asked softly. "Yeah, you'll each have your own." "Does your dog bite?" "No, Charlie's friendly." The girl smiled for the first time, and it felt like a tiny but important victory. The first night. I'll never forget their first night at my place. Charlie ran to greet us, barking with joy. At first, the kids were scared, but within 10 minutes, they were petting him like they'd known him for years. I tried to make dinner, macaroni with cheese and hot dogs. The girl said quietly, "Dad used to make pizza." I froze for a second. I wasn't their dad. I'd never been anyone's dad. They refused to sleep in separate rooms, so I laid 2 mattresses next to each other in the living room. At 3 in the morning, I woke up to quiet sobbing. The girl whispered to her brother, "What if he leaves too?" My heart sank. I sat by their door and couldn't sleep the rest of the night. Breaking point and Mom's help. By the 3rd day, I was falling apart. The kids wouldn't listen. I had no idea how to keep them busy. That morning, I tried to get them ready for school. The girl cried, saying she was scared of the new teacher. The boy spilled milk all over the kitchen. I sat down and buried my face in my hands. "I can't do this. I'm not ready." I called my mom. "Mom, I can't handle this. I'm coming. I'll stay for a week and help." And she did. Things got easier with her around. She set routines, talked to the kids, explained that I was now their guardian, and that I wouldn't leave them. Calling Emma. But even with Mom's help, I still felt lost. So I called Emma. "Hey, Em, I know we haven't talked in a while, but can you come over? Even for an hour? I just need to talk." She showed up that evening, standing in the doorway looking at me, the kids, the chaos. Well, mister, I'm fine as I am. How's fatherhood treating you?" she said with a crooked smile. "I have no idea what I'm doing." "But you're living, Michael. You used to only have work and a dog. Now you've got kids. It's scary, but you don't look unhappy." We sat in the kitchen after the kids went to bed and talked, really talked, for the first time in 2 years. And I kept thinking, maybe this is what I was afraid of all along, being needed by someone. About a month passed, and we were starting to get used to each other. I already knew how to pack their lunches, buy clothes in the right size. I even knew the boy loved football, and the girl adored drawing. For the first time, I thought, maybe I can do this. And right then, the first letter arrived. No return address, just one sheet of paper, messy handwriting. "You won't keep them. They're mine." I froze reading those words. My heart pounded. Who? Who wrote this? Is this some kind of joke? I decided not to show the kids and threw it away. A week later, another letter. "You'll regret taking them." Then a third. "Give them back before it's too late." And strange phone calls late at night with nothing but silence on the other end. I started locking the doors with 2 deadbolts, checking the windows 3 times before bed. I called Sarah, the social worker. "Who could be sending these letters?" "Michael, there is one person, the biological father. He served time for domestic violence. Alex kept the kids hidden so he wouldn't find them. He might be out now." Her words hit me like a hammer. "So, he can take them?" "Not right away, but he can go to court if he has any parental rights left. You should speak to a lawyer." I called Henderson. "Can this guy really claim custody?" "If the court decides he's rehabilitated, theoretically, yes. But we can request a restraining order and prove he's dangerous to the kids." I felt like the ground had just disappeared under me. I was only just starting to feel like their guardian. What if they take them away? What if they lose everything again? I went to the police with the letters. The officer listened carefully. "We'll check into it. If it's him, we'll file for a restraining order. And if it's not him, we'll find out. But prepare for the worst. You'll need a good family lawyer." 2 weeks later, the court granted a temporary restraining order. The biological father was banned from contacting the children. But it was only the beginning. He filed a lawsuit to restore his parental rights. Meanwhile, at home, things were changing. The boy started calling me Uncle Michael. The girl often held my hand on the way to school. I realized I wasn't thinking anymore about what to feed them or what to say. I was just doing it. I was starting to feel like they were my family. That evening, I told Mom, "Mom, I really want them to stay with me. Not because of Alex's letter, not because I have to, but because I love them." She smiled. "You know, Michael, it's been a long time since I've heard that in your voice." The court summons came in mid-March. The children's biological father, Mark Davis, is filing to restore his parental rights. I sat in the kitchen, reading those words over and over. My heart pounded in my ears. He really wants to take them. Emma sat across from me, quietly watching. She'd been coming over often, helping with the kids, teaching them simple meals, sometimes staying the night so I could finally sleep. "Do you think you can handle this?" she asked softly. "I don't know. I'm not their father. Maybe they'd be better off with him if he's really changed." She slammed her cup down. "Are you serious? You've seen the way they run to you. You're their family now, not him." The courtroom was cold and far too bright. On the other side sat Mark, broad shoulders, tattoos down his arms, eyes that seemed to burn right through me. When the judge walked in, Mark leaned toward me and whispered, "They're my kids, got it?" The trial began. His lawyer painted a picture of a changed man. Rehabilitated, ready to be a good father. My lawyer countered with facts. Violence, prison time, zero contact with the kids, threatening letters. Every night after court, I sat on the couch watching the kids sleep. I asked myself the same question over and over. What if I'm wrong? What if they really need their biological father? At one point, I even thought, maybe I should agree to joint custody, just to spare them the pain of this fight. But then one night, the girl woke up, hugged me tightly and whispered, "You're not leaving, right?" And that's when I knew, no, I can't give them up. Emma was by my side at every hearing. "You're doing great, Michael," she said after one particularly brutal day. "Yeah, right. I almost told the judge I was scared out of my mind." "All good parents are scared," she smiled, squeezing my hand. We grew closer. At night, when the kids were asleep, we sat in the kitchen and talked. Sometimes we didn't talk at all, and somehow that silence felt right. At one session, a court-appointed psychologist testified, the children experience stress when interacting with their biological father. They associate him with danger and trauma. But with Mr. Blake, they feel safe and are beginning to adapt to a stable home life. That was the moment I felt hope. We had a real chance. By the end of April, the court ruled in my favor. I would keep custody. The biological father's rights were denied until he completed therapy. And even then, only if the court approved contact. I stood there, hands trembling, as the kids shouted, "We get to stay home?" "Yeah, you're home," I said. Emma hugged me, and for the first time in 2 years, I didn't feel alone. Double asterisk. When it was all over, I thought I'd feel relief, but instead there was this strange emptiness. Like I'd been fighting for so long, I'd forgotten how to just live. The next day, the kids ran out into the yard playing with Charlie. And for the first time in months, I simply sat on the porch, sipping tea, listening to their laughter. That's when it hit me. This is my life now. A few weeks later, the official papers came. I was now their legal guardian. Sarah from Social Services arrived for the final check. "Well, Mr. Blake, you're officially a parent now." "That sounds strange." "It suits you," she smiled. I signed the papers and felt a huge weight lift off my shoulders. Emma had been there through it all. She didn't just help. She became part of this new family. One night after the kids had gone to bed, I said, "Em, thank you for everything." She looked at me, warmth in her eyes. "Maybe this is your second chance, Michael, to be not just a guardian, but a real family." I didn't answer. I just took her hand. 6 months passed. We had a routine now. School, after-school clubs, football on weekends. Charlie became their best friend. The girl hung a drawing on the fridge. Me, her brother, and Emma. all holding hands. At the bottom in crooked letters it said, "Our family." I stood there looking at that drawing, realizing I really am a father. Not because of some paperwork, but because they're my kids, and I'm their person. I used to think life was just work, stability, and avoiding surprises. I was terrified of change, but everything changed with one letter. And now I know. Sometimes we only find ourselves when we stop running from responsibility. I'm no longer Michael the accountant. I'm Michael, father of 2 kids, and a man who will never be alone again. What would you do in Michael's place? Would you take on that responsibility or walk away? Share your thoughts in the comments, and if you enjoyed this story, please like and subscribe. Double asterisk.